The 14th project of a day is by Kyna Bhandari, titled Evaluating the Efficiency of Hydroponic Farming. Her project consists of building an at-home hydroponic farm and comparing it to a traditional farm. Stay tuned if you want to find out how it works.
So, hello, my name is Kyna Bhandari, and today I'll be presenting my project on hydroponic farming compared to traditional soil-based farming. So, let me start with the table of contents. Today, I'll first be giving a short introduction of hydroponics, what they are and how they work. Next, I'll be showing you my hydroponic farm and explaining my experiment. Then I'll show you my results, and I'll be explaining how hydroponics may or may not be able to replace soil-based farming. Finally, I'll be drawing a conclusion of whether hydroponics could be in the future of agriculture and whether implementing hydroponics is effective and convenient. Agriculture has been around for thousands of years. Humanity has been growing crops in similar ways throughout its entire existence. Although there have definitely been advances in agricultural technology, such as pesticides, fertilizers, and tractors, isn't it time to further improve this essential way of using the resources that our planet provides us with? Hydroponic farming is growing plants in water rather than in soil. The nutrient-rich water provides all the resources that the plant needs to grow quickly and healthily. Through my experiment, I wanted to test whether hydroponic farming could replace traditional farming. To be able to do this, hydroponic farming would have to be able to meet three main criteria. Number one, is it convenient? Two, is it cost-effective? And three, would it be able to keep up with the high demand of crops? So to test my questions, I decided to make my own miniature hydroponic farm. So I'm going to quickly go through my experiment. So during my experiment, I used a 17-liter box to make an at-home hydroponic farm. I balanced the pH of the water, as well as added fertilizers, and bought an air stone to aerate the water. Here you can see the progression of all the pH tests I had to do to go from a pH of about 8 to a pH of 6. Here is a scheme of my hydroponic farm. You can see that it's quite simple, but it achieves the task of growing my plants. The plants I used for this experiment were carrots, spring onions, garlic, and mint. There was one set of each vegetable in a hydroponic farm and one in a traditional farm. Throughout the experiment, I measured the length of the spring onions, which were the main plants that I could measure the length of. I did make sure, however, to take photos of all the other plants every day. My original plan was to continue this experiment for 5 days, which is what I put in my project paper. However, after beginning to grow the plants, I realized that 5 days wasn't enough to see a very clear difference between the growth of some of the plants. So I decided to continue this experiment between the time I had handed in the project paper and the day of the presentation. So today, I'll be showing all of my results. Here is a picture of my hydroponic farm. You can see the air stone, the plants, and the fact that I added nutrients and balanced the pH of the water. So for my results, I'll be giving a side-by-side comparison of the plants on day 1 compared to the final day of my experiment. Here is the traditionally grown spring onion on day 1. It started at 1 centimeter tall and ended at 23.3 centimeters. Here is the hydroponically grown spring onion on day 1. It also started at 1 centimeter tall. However, it ended at 26.2 centimeters, which is 2.9 centimeters more than the traditional ones. Now, here's a graph I made showing the growth of the spring onions. You can see that there wasn't too much of a difference between traditional and hydroponic spring onions at the beginning, but around day 10, the hydroponic spring onions grew far more than the traditional spring onions. Now, here are the garlic plants on day 1, and here's the traditionally grown garlic on the final day. However, my hydroponically grown garlic didn't grow. I think this could be because garlic is generally grown underground, so it's possible that I overwatered it and it ended up rotting. Now, here are the carrots on day 1. Here is the traditionally grown carrot on day 21, which grew quite a lot. No, sorry, this is the hydroponically grown carrot, which grew a lot. But my traditional carrot died. So obviously, this doesn't mean that carrots cannot grow traditionally. And I'll be explaining what I think this could have meant in a few minutes. Now, here's my garlic on day 1. And this is the hydroponic garlic on the final day. You can see that it grew quite a lot, and it grew quite well. And the traditionally grown garlic also grew, however, it did end up drying up. The results of my mint and garlic do not mean that these plants cannot grow traditionally, but I think it could be because the amount of attention I gave them was perhaps not enough compared to what they needed. But the hydroponically grown plants were given the same amount of attention, and they thrived. So we could interpret this to mean that hydroponic plants require less attention and are much easier to take care of than traditional plants, which need to be regularly watered and fertilized. So now I will quickly go over the viability of hydroponics industrially. Hydroponic farming has many advantages, such as being affordable, convenient, and compact, making them a good choice in smaller countries like Luxembourg, which may not have as much free land for agriculture. Hydroponics would also be able to keep up with the high demand of crops, as they in general grew faster than the soil-based farming. They also needed little maintenance compared to the soil-based farming. However, there are definitely some disadvantages, such as them not being suitable for all vegetables, as my experiment showed with the garlic, as well as it being a big change industrially that not all countries may want to adopt. So the conclusions that we can draw from this experiment are that hydroponic farming could be a viable replacement for traditional farming, as hydroponics are compact, affordable, and the growth of certain plants are faster in hydroponics than traditional farming. However, that being said, for certain plants, they do grow better traditionally. As of now, I believe that a reason that some plants grew far better in soil is because they usually grow underground. However, the carrots, which also grow underground, grew better in hydroponic farming. So it's difficult to draw a concrete conclusion about which type of plants grow better. This could be a very interesting experiment for future contests. So thank you for your attention, and I'm open to any questions.
Hello, Kyna. Thank you for joining us here on the couches. You've just been on stage. Are you happy with your performance?
Yeah, I think considering how stressed I was, I think it went pretty well because standing there in front of the jury and presenting to them what you've been working on for ages and listening to their judgment and stuff, it's stressful. But I think I'm pretty happy with how it went, yes.
So you just said you've been working on it for ages. When did you start with the project?
So I actually started relatively late, but I put in quite a bit of effort in it. I started end of January, beginning of February. So it's been going on for some time, but it's not as long as some of my friends have done it for.
And where did you get the idea from for this whole project?
So I wanted to originally do something in biology. I'm mainly interested in neuroscience as of now, but I think that finding a project in neuroscience that I'd be able to actually do would be kind of difficult with resources and with all the things I would need to do it. So then I was like, what other ways of biology could I do? And then my father actually suggested that I do hydroponic farming, because I would never have come up with this on my own. I didn't know what it was until I started this presentation. So I think it was a great learning experience as well.
And for the audience that maybe don't know yet what it is, what is your project? Can you condense it into 1 or 2 sentences?
So it's comparing hydroponic to traditional farming, and hydroponic farming is when you grow plants in soil in water rather than soil.
And what benefits does that have compared to soil?
So hydroponics are affordable, they're quite convenient, and they don't take that much space, especially in a smaller country like Luxembourg, which for example might not have enough space for vast agriculture. It could, especially since hydroponics can be stacked vertically in a closed environment, so it would be space consuming as well. So.
And do you think that projects like this will become more and more important in the future for our society?
I think they could, especially with all the new buildings and things being made. I think that conserving space is quite important, and obviously agriculture and crops take up a lot of space. So I think it could be more important in the future.
Now that you have tasted blood by presenting your first project here, do you have any plans to partake again? If yes, again biology or something different?
I do plan on partaking again next year. I think that if I'm to do it again, I could continue in the same topic, but I could also be interested in doing something more technology-based, or maybe perhaps making a physical model of something. Yeah.
Perfect. You were hinting a little bit that at the beginning you had a companion on your path here for science. you did it now alone. How did you motivate yourself? How did you push yourself towards the end?
Well, it was difficult. Writing a project paper that's like 15 pages, it takes a lot of effort and time. For motivation, I was quite interested in the project. I think that I enjoyed writing it, so it's not something I had to really push myself to do. But working on it and like seeing the final result and like thinking about the final result, that definitely helped.
Very well. Then finally, with your creation that you have here, which is also has some technological part on it, when will you start developing a new idea? Will you have you already an idea for the next project, or is it something that you're going to think later on?
I think that this time maybe I'll do a project that's a bit longer. So I'll start thinking about it soon, like not immediately. I'll take a break, but I'll start thinking about it soon, and I'll see how long I want to continue the next project for. If I want to start it later or before. So yeah.
Perfect. And then one last question: what would be some kind of advice that you would give to somebody who starts off for the first time?
Do not start too late. Because you think that you can do it really fast. You can write a project paper, you can do the experiment, and you can leave it for the last minute. Don't procrastinate it. That's what I did, and yeah, it turned out. I think it turned out good, but it was a lot more stressful than it needed to be.
Perfect. Then thank you very much for being here and having the interview with us.
Yeah, thank you.
And now we're going to see what the next contestant has to show to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.